Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. Hey, this is Merle and Linda Hutchinson coming at you guys today, and we have, as I can't hide anymore, hon, but before we did YouTube stuff, video, we could just keep our guests in the dark for a while and build the suspense. But you guys can see that we have a guest today, and so we would like to welcome Mark Wages to the Rock Solid Radio studio today. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Good.
Great to meet you both and spend some time with you.
Well, thanks for joining us. I met Mark probably, a couple months ago, right?
Roughly, yeah.
And basically, this was one of those social media connections through, actually, I think it was LinkedIn.
Yes.
You saw some of the work that we were doing, and you reached out, and we had lunch one day and started realizing that, hey, we have a common connection.
Yes.
And that common connection is basically Jesus and how we're going to serve him.
Exactly.
And so the more we got to talk, the more we kind of got excited about what each ministry is doing. And so Mark represents Truth at Work Ministries.
Yes.
Right? And so I had heard a little bit about Truth at Work, but only, when I would see something, whether on LinkedIn or whatever, and never really pursued it. And when I got to talk more with Mark, I was like, this is amazing because you're serving families through the workplace. You're just hitting a niche that a lot of times we feel like, well, we have to keep work and faith separated.
Right.
And you guys basically tried to cross that bridge.
Exactly.
And you continue and you do quite well with it. So, and we're going to have some conversation about what Mark's doing and what Truth at Work is about, and really, hopefully, just pique your interest into that and go from there. So, hon, how are you doing?
I'm doing good,
Yeah?
Thanks for being here, Mark. We're excited about this. But before we get started and start really digging into Truth at Work, we first want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Maxwell Construction for coming alongside Rock Solid Radio and being a part of what we're trying to do, and that's to really bring Christ into our families, into our homes, into the workplace.
Amen.
And we believe that it's important that we work together. We were just talking before we started recording that, the church can't be everything to everybody.
Right.
And we've got to partner with other people who are doing things well in areas that we can't do it in the church. And so that's where Rock Solid Families comes in. That's where Truth at Work comes in. So we're really excited. So thank you to our sponsors for really sponsoring and supporting positive messaging that will help our families in our community.
All right. Yes. Thank you very much. Also, we are starting off our fundraising season, and so the spring season is when we really try to gear up on that. And so we are in the process of basically needing your help and asking for it. And so if you like what you hear on Rock Solid Radio, or you're familiar with the work that we do at Rock Solid Families, which is our marriage and family coaching ministry, please come alongside of us. Learn about us. I mean, we're not asking for your money. We're asking for your investment in what the mission is about. Our mission is about families and about marriages, and we need you. Hun, as you just said, the church can't do it all. We can't do it all. God gifted us with certain gifts, but we need the gifts that God gifts you with to help continue to spread this. And so we are going to be asking more and more for your help, for your support, and just pray that what we do has a purpose and meaning.
Yeah, and in your partnership, we really need to partner together in this mission of strong and healthy families and healthy communities. But Hun, as we talk about healthy, we talked about in our last show that we did a fresh start story, an episode of our podcast where we really talked about new beginnings, new life, now that Easter has come and spring is sprung. And we talked about the fact that sometimes it's physical health that we need to work on. And so we've been talking about how getting in the gym, we have a gym in our office in St. Leon, Indiana. And so we are having a Fresh Start special where we're really inviting you to come and just start that physical process. We sweat together, but we also pray together.
Great.
Mark, we can get you in there.
I need some of that.
Yeah,
I'm
get you
ready.
in the gym. And some don't know that Merle is a personal trainer as well. And so he does these classes. I do these classes, but he also works one-on-one.
Right. So our special is normally it's $70 for 10 classes, so that's $7 a class. And our special runs through April, and it will be $60 for the 10 classes. So that is a good time to jump in.
Yeah.
If you have no clue what we're talking about, all right, then if
Exercise,
just come in, you'll get that class free. Just come see what we do.
Yeah.
We do kind of an exercise that you're not going to see anywhere else. It's something that we created. It's called finishing, and there's some unique pieces of equipment that God basically gifted us with. And come in, put your hands on them, try them out. So come on out. Our number in our office is 812-576-7625. Check out our website at rocksolidfamilies.org and get connected with Rock Solid Families.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to work, Linda.
Yeah. Mark, okay, so I didn't get to go I wasn't invited to lunch. I don't know
Well,
where.
it's kind of a
I
man's thing.
must have missed the invitation.
It was one of those things,
So tell me a little bit about Truth at Work. Like, what is it? How did you get involved? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, basically, Truth at Work is that we're a marketplace ministry. We focus on what we term to be one of the largest and last great evangelistic areas that haven't been touched.
Yeah.
So we see the marketplace. There's so many people. Where do people spend most of their time? In the workplace.
Yeah.
And so if we can engage and encounter them there, wow, what a place to be. And not only that, but if you can affect one person there and you look at the exponential effect of that, wow, it just goes forward. I think what enthused me so much about Truth at Work in the beginning is some of my time I spent in prison ministry, because I just believed that so much that if we could touch one person behind those walls, behind that jail cell, then look what happens. They take it out to the family. They take it out to the community. They take it out. It becomes an exponential thing that really is huge. And so we see the same thing happening in Truth at Work. Really what happened in 1999, I think it was, I was at a Bible study with a guy by the name of Ray Hilbert. Ray was just in the thinking stages with Truth at Work. We were in a Bible study at a church, which neither one of us attended. We were attending a Saturday morning Bible study. Ray and I struck up a friendship, and little did I know at that time he was developing Truth at Work then. Wow. Ray had two businesses then that were kind of struggling, and as a Christian himself, he had come from we want to call it maybe the Christian world, but he was a regional director for Promise Keepers. And that was a real passion that he had. And what he found was that in this business he's operating, he really didn't have what he felt was a safe place to talk about what's really going on. Felt sometimes somewhat overwhelmed, maybe even alone, or just kind of isolated, because you really can't, you think about it, you have a business issues, you can't look to get good input from someone who can't relate to where you are.
Yeah, biblical
exactly.
help. Yeah.
And so what he did, he began this journey of Truth at Work. Actually, we were talking before we started. It was in April 2020, the very first Truth at Work
So it's an
meeting
anniversary
began.
month.
Anniversary, 21 years this month.
Wow.
There are now about 50 chapters around the country. We're in about 38, 39 states.
Wow.
The ministry has just moved exponentially.
And it started where?
Started in Indianapolis,
Indianapolis, Indiana. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I met Ray back then, 99, and actually at that point in time, probably a year or so after that, I actually joined a Truth at Work group myself as a member. And then we got involved in business and moving, and we made a move to California. So we were gone for probably 15 years or so. And
Your
then
family?
Pardon?
Your
the whole
family?
family. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Yep, the family. Long story short there, I was working there as a VP of operations for a company. I was actually working as a as VP of operations was really a troubleshooter type position, going into different operations and trying to find out or discover what's the problem.
Okay.
And that's another thing that's brought an interest here with me with Truth at Work, because we're discovering problems, we're discovering issues, and then trying to direct the right answer into the situation. So that's been an exciting part of that.
Yeah.
Long story short, fast forward, we came back from California and started businesses. We had 7-8 businesses moving at one point: Colorado, Indianapolis, Cincinnati. That's how we ended up here in Columbus. Fast forward a little bit more. The business grew so strong here in the Cincinnati area. I spent a lot of time here. Back 2006, 2006, we moved to Cincinnati.
Okay.
So that's how why I'm here. And then as we divested ourselves of those businesses and moved away from those, about 2015 is when I sold those businesses off and then began working with Truth at Work again.
Wow.
With Ray Hilbert.
Like full time, like that's
Oh,
your
yeah, full time.
focus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ray and I remained friends all that time, those years. I spent time together. I saw everything developing, and I just had a real belief in the system that they're using and what they're doing. And it's proven out. When I see it happen day to day with the guys and gals we're working with, it's just phenomenal to see it.
Yeah.
So,
So
okay, so go ahead.
yeah. So when you talk about like how it works, and we're going to probably get into that a little bit more. But so I mean, who do you serve? Like, you come from a corporate world background, right? So are you serving people in the corporate world? I hear Truth at Work. Does that mean any type of work, or are you looking at like more of a corporate or business world, or does it matter?
It really doesn't matter. What we really, as we qualify that, we're looking at what we might call high capacity leaders. Someone who can take the wheel and turn it. They can change the direction of where they're going. So again, if there are employees there, that's great, and we're affecting all of those, hopefully. But it can even be a 1 or 2 person operation, a real estate agent.
Yeah.
They are building an income. They're driving their own thing, and so they're turning a wheel. So in our groups, we find people that are in the C-level environment where they may have 1,000, 1,500 employees. Some may have 15, 20, 10, 5, or we have a couple of groups where we have maybe one person as their own standalone entity.
But you're looking more for the people, like you said, the high capacity. There are people kind of in charge or have direction that they're looking, that they have their finger on the wheel.
Exactly. That's right.
Influence.
They have the opportunity.
They have
to
influence
move the wheel.
is a good word.
So you mentioned system. So explain the process, explain the system, like how does someone get connected with Truth at Work?
Okay. And what we're really kind of laser focused. We don't take a shotgun effect of what we're doing. We're focused on this once per month meeting that we have. It's a 4-hour meeting. We do it during the regular business week. It's not a Saturday, Sunday, or an evening meeting. It's during the regular business week. Typically, maybe say an 8 a.m. to 12 noon. We start promptly at 8. We finish by noon because people have commitments that they have to get to. So we really respect that time. But we really laser focus on that once per month meeting. That meeting is really laid out so that we cover a curriculum. We cover a major roundtable issue with one of the members that they're dealing with, and then roundtable issues for each of the people, and then a lot of goal setting for each individual member. Want me to outline some of that specifically?
Well, yeah. So how many people are sitting around this table?
Typically, no more than 8 to 12.
Okay.
We want to keep it small.
A smaller group. Yeah.
Right. In 4 hours, we're going to be dealing with a certain number of issues.
Wow.
We can't do it with 15 or 20. So we break those groups up into 8 to 12.
Gotcha. Yeah. Walk through that process a little bit. So here I am. I'm a new guy. Contact Mark Wages. Just feeling like I need a shot in the arm in my world, whether it's my marriage or my business or whatever, and I contact you, and I do I automatically just get plugged into any random group, or how do I get selected into a group?
Good question. I will tell you that we require all of our members to sign a confidentiality statement, and we require them to sign a statement of faith.
Okay.
So everyone in those meetings is agreed that it's confidential and that we're all on the same wavelength in our faith. So now you've got a group of people who are a trusted group.
Safe place.
Yes, they're faith-based. Okay. So what happens with a new member? Obviously, in the first meeting, they're going to come in and do an introduction of themselves, kind of an outline of where they're at right now, the status of their business, the status of their family. Give everyone in the room a bird's eye view of where they are now. And then in that process, we allow them then to begin to integrate into the group. What we find then in the actual meeting itself, the meeting is outlined. We typically start the meeting with a curriculum piece. We have about 10 to 12 years now of curriculum that we've built,
that
very
written,
high level.
Or?
Yes, written curriculum.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Most of it has maybe a 5 or 10 minute short video that they can look at online with their own portal. By the way, every member has their own portal. So anything we're talking about, goal setting, viewing curriculum, and so forth, can all be done at home or on their mobile app as they're going through the day.
Yeah.
So that's all set in place. But typically the curriculums, I'll give you an example of a curriculum that is frequently requested by some of our folks around in different groups. One called servanthood versus stewardship.
Okay.
Where does that break? You own a business and you have someone who is struggling at work. You do the best you can to correct them and move the process forward. But what if that doesn't work? Now you find that is affecting the rest of the business.
Yeah.
Where is the draw line?
Where's
Where do you cut
stewardship?
that?
Yeah.
You have to move over. You're looking at the welfare of the entire company and the other employees. How is this person's lack of performance affecting the rest? So where do you draw that line? So that's a great piece that we do. We do some case studies on that so we can help the guys and gals to begin to discern when and where to make that move. And we get very definitive about those issues. So that's an example of one of the
That's a great example because I
is.
can see, a lot of times people that are not in the corporate world think that corporate has no heart.
Exactly.
That it's all about the numbers, and probably there is some truth to that at the end of the day, right? We keep the numbers help us keep the business alive.
Yes.
But we keep the business alive because it's keeping many people alive.
Exactly.
And so what a great
But
thing.
that's funny that you say that, honey. In the corporate world, like, they have no heart. But I worked in the church world for 20 years, where it's the other extreme, and it's like it's all heart and no good stewards.
Right.
Sometimes we lose focus of when is it the best stewardship of the church and the church family and the kingdom work, and sometimes we go the other extreme.
Yeah, I've heard ministers say they kept that person around too long.
Yeah.
And again, for the sake of the ministry. So
Right.
that in itself is a worthy reason to show up to the meeting.
Right, and exactly what you were saying, Linda. That we find that with our guys and gals coming in, they kind of still got that mindset. We're serving everyone. We're serving, but the stewardship piece they really struggle with. How do I properly steward that? So that's a good thing. Good stuff.
Okay, so I come in and we have this meeting. I'm introduced. Okay. Is there a facilitator? If somebody's got to kind of know the direction of Truth at Work or how the process works. So is there like a lead person that runs that, or do they all just kind of facilitate?
No, that would be me.
Oh, so you're in on these meetings.
I'm in every meeting. Okay. I am the facilitator. So I'm in each and every session that we do, and I'm going to facilitate that process. Now, as you guys know, being facilitators yourself, the best thing you can do there is learn how to ask the right questions. And so as we move through that process, we understand how to draw things out of people to help them determine and find what the real problem may be. So it's critical that you facilitate it effectively based on where we're going with that individual.
So you're in the Cincinnati area. So how many Truth at Work groups do you facilitate?
Well, regionally, there's about 12 running. We have some that are virtual, some that are hybrid meetings, and some we're doing live meetings.
Okay.
So what we found with COVID is that if in the meetings prior to that we're doing all live meetings, and then we found some people, of course, who are hesitant to come in. So what do? We went to all virtual for a little bit, and now with some of those we're doing live. Most of the people want to get back to live right now.
Right.
But there's still those that are hesitant, and so what we do is set the computer screen on the other end of the table, and they're brought in through the internet, and we can still do live streaming, live time.
Right. Yeah.
So no one loses a step in that process.
That's awesome.
If somebody is interested and they sign up, is there like an on-ramp? Like, okay, it's really neat that you're interested, but our next group starts in June or something, or as soon as they sign up and get okayed or whatever, can they start right into a group?
They can if there's an opening. Typically, we have an opening in a group.
Okay.
But if there isn't, yes, it may require waiting a month or two.
Okay.
One of the things I hear quite frequently is someone says, "Well, I'm in the mortgage business. I want to be with the other mortgage people." Well, you really don't want to be. You want to be with a group where there's some diversity.
Diversity, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and some perspective.
I think we shared, one of my favorite stories in the Bible is with Moses. Moses, highly educated, cultured. He comes out of Egypt, goes into the desert. He gets married. His father's Jethro.
Yes.
And so
We just talked about
Jethro telling Moses he needs help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's his background?
I mean,
He's not a sea-level guy.
Yeah.
No.
He's not there. So, but yep, one of the greatest pieces of advice he got was in there. So you got to be careful because I hear that often. What we want, what you really should desire is spirit-filled, spirit-based, faith-based, out-of-the-box thinking.
Yeah.
We don't all do things the same way.
In a safe and trusting environment. And I think you mentioned that, Mark. It is so key that our high-level executives and folks who are leading, whether it be a church or a corporation, have a safe place to go to really wrestle out some things that they're dealing with personally, professionally, morally. And I love that because unfortunately, a lot of people do isolate and they feel like they're on an island and they make some bad decisions.
Exactly.
And this is an awesome place to go.
I'm glad you said that. I'll tell you, one other critical part of this meeting that we do is called a featured member piece. And so in that piece, what happens is one member has one entire segment of the meeting himself or herself in which they will outline a particular problem they're having in their business. It could be sales, it could be operations, it could be legal. It could be HR. Whatever that issue is, what they do, they put that all together and give us another well-rounded picture of where they are at home and at work, along with that one critical issue. They send that issue to me. We will talk about that at least 2 weeks before the meeting. Then what I'll do is send that to each of the members in that group.
Wow.
They'll have 2 weeks to not only observe it and look at it and search for some answers, but to pray about it.
Pray about it. Wow,
Get
I
God
love that.
involved in that and look for godly answers on how
that's
you would
huge.
advise this individual. And so then we come back to the meeting, and in that session, the outlined issue is there on the table, and we review that around the table. And at the end of that period of time, we will ask that individual, now, based on what you've heard, what are your next 3 to 4 action steps?
Wow.
We're going to document those.
Man.
And then at the next meeting, we're going to say,
You're giving them
Follow up.
homework.
what did you do?
Accountability. I love that.
You'd be amazed what happens. You're right. We talk a lot about community and accountability.
Yeah.
It's so critical, especially today.
Yes.
Community and
Absolutely.
accountability. Community and accountability.
Yeah.
It's critical.
So, Mark, once I'm in, I start with the group. Am I in for a lifetime? Is it 12 sessions? Is it 5? Like how long does this go?
We like to see people commit for at least a year.
Okay.
But I have members there that have been there forever. Been there for 5, 6, 7 years. They just don't leave. And here, I mean, in Cincinnati. But in other parts of the country, I mean, they've been there.
So there's really no.
They don't leave.
As long as you're feeling productive and it's productive,
Working for you.
it's good. You're definitely accepted to be in there.
Absolutely. Let me hear I'll tell you what I hear said often. I often hear people say, well, Mark, this is really to me more like what church should be than my church. And I discourage them to, this is not church. This is not a place for church. This is not the place to church.
It's not where we're baptizing
but
people.
It's a place where they unload it, they can confess it, they can share it, and they can get prayed for about it.
And help for
And looking at, as you mentioned earlier, Linda, we're looking at that where we have personal, business, and spiritual. There's what we would call that sweet spot. They're all together.
Yes.
You cannot separate those.
Yep.
And so in that environment, that's what we see happening.
I love
bring
that.
it all together.
Yeah.
So here's the question that you don't want.
Okay.
What's this going to cost me? Is there a fee for this? I mean, this is we do coaching. We charge a fee. What's this cost somebody?
I'll tell you, the initial, there's a $150 fee to get on the portal, but that's a lifetime fee. That's one time for the entire life. We are a 501c3. Here's what I determined, and have determined way back in the beginning when we started here. My goal is if you need it, that's not an issue. Our typical member, they'll pay typically between $300 to $500 a month, but that's not a requirement. If it doesn't fit in your budget now, that's fine. move it to wherever you need it to be. At a later time, if you want to increase that, take it down, whatever you need to do. But the critical factor is that you need it, that we agree that you need to be here.
Yeah.
So there's not a monetary requirement.
We don't let money be the thing that stops.
Exactly.
So those $300 to $500 seem like as a donation, or is it actually a fee?
It's a membership fee.
Okay.
It's a membership fee. It supports what we do. We do a national event. We do our local events, and all the expenses incurred there. So that's all a part of that whole process.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But I probably needed, just to remind. I wouldn't let the $300 to $500 be the thing that stops you. Like, that's too expensive. It's a matter of, and I got to think too. Like a lot of these people coming from a corporate world, that's almost a professional development.
It is. It becomes it's a company.
Yeah.
Typically, it's a company paid fee.
Yeah, exactly. That's what kind of how I would see
it's
that.
A deductible expense. And you used a great word a while ago. I think you were talking with someone else, but we're talking about this is an investment. It's not a fee. It's not a cost, if you want to say it that way. But this is really an investment in you and your business and so forth. Moving forward.
We hear people come into our office who are maybe their marriage is in crisis and they're really thinking of divorce, and they're like, we can't afford therapy. We can't afford counseling. And I'm thinking, do you know the cost of divorce?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the cost of bankruptcy or foreclosure of your family or your business? And so it's kind of like, really, you need to weigh the cost benefits here.
Yeah.
So.
I'll give you a real quick example if I can, with not an individual's name, but I'll tell you a specific situation. About 3 or 4 years ago, 3.5 years or so ago, we had a fellow that came. I met with him at coffee, like with you, and he told me, he said, Mark, I'd love to do this. He said, but I'm going to tell you, he said, probably in 6 or 8 months I'll be out of business. And I said, well, we talked about his situation. I said, well, why don't we do this? Why don't you come and join us? Because I think we can at least encourage you in some areas and do. So he came in. And again, I won't discuss the cost issue, but it was not the $500. So at any rate, he came in. And through the advice of the people there, he told me, he said, Mark, he's about 55, 58 years old. He said, I really don't think with this closure of this business, my retirement, everything's in jeopardy. It's all basically going to be gone.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where I'm going, what's really happening. So long story short, he, over the period of the first few months, the members, after hearing his scenario, they encouraged him. He was doing business nationwide, and with one part of his business. Another part he was doing retail, and another part he was doing on a commercial level. Okay. So after analyzing all of that, the members actually encouraged him, look, you need to terminate that national business because it's high volume, but it's low margin. Get out of that business. So he dropped that. Over the next 6, 8, 12 months, he was encouraged to drop the retail part of the business because high inventory, low turnover. Boom, gone.
Yeah.
So now what he's ended up with is the commercial side of his business.
Wow.
He not only survived, but he's doing, he says, now better than he's ever done.
Wow.
Because now what he has is a focus on what he needs to do.
Wow.
The
And some
finances-
outside perspective that helped him to kind of see those changes he needed to make and not drowned in the overhead. And
what happens? We get these lenses on. We're looking at things through the wrong lens.
We see it all the time. We see it all the time. We see it based off of our own experiences, what we were brought up with, what our comfort level is. And sometimes you need somebody to say, have you ever looked at it from this perspective?
Yeah. So, Mark, people who are listening aren't just in the greater Cincinnati area. We've got a lot of people who follow our podcast nationwide. So what is the best way to connect with Truth at Work, whether they're at, Cincinnati or Columbus or California?
You can go to our website, truthatwork.org, and look for roundtable sessions, and you'll see all the states listed there. Not only that, but you'll see the individuals who are chapter presidents in each area. You'll see their profile, what they're doing, and so you can easily get connected. There's a connecting link there. So, yes, we have them in California, Maine, Texas, all over the country.
All corners.
Good deal. So, Mark, we're gonna land the plane. Okay? We're gonna wrap things up here. But how about if we have a minute or two to talk about what are some of the trends that you see coming to these? If there, like, we see trends come in our office with the people that we coach, whether there's something going on with marriages, and we joke sometimes like, oh my gosh, like in the last 2 weeks I've had this many of these cases come in to me. What are some of the more concerning or alarming trends that you see people bringing in, obviously keeping confidentiality? Is there a trend out there, or is it just across the board?
A trend regarding, you mean as far
The
as
type of problems
that
and
they're
struggles they're dealing with?
I think one of the things that I'm seeing and that we're hearing quite often, and I'll give you an example. One of the companies that we're working with, they're right now at probably about 80% productivity since COVID. They're doing about 80% of what they're doing pre-COVID. And yet their people are all working overtime.
Yeah.
One of the things they're finding is they can't find people.
Oh, yeah.
People are not coming to work. They're not coming back to work some cases. And I just wonder, as I've researched some of that and talked with some folks about that, I'm hearing different possible causes for that. But that's a real quandary.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the workforce has changed.
It is changing.
It has drastically changed in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's tough.
that's a critical one that I'm seeing now, and I think it's affecting a lot of people. The other thing I'm seeing, one of the other larger groups we work with, they are one of the larger property management groups in the world. One of the problems that they're facing, what they're seeing is that places, companies that had a 25, 50, 100-person workplace, offices, with everybody now working from home, they're finding that even though the productivity may be a little less, they can still do this more profitably with only 10 people in the office.
Yeah.
So they're downsizing their offices.
Yes.
So we're going to see, I think, a lot of commercial property loosening up over the next couple of years. Now, people have leases in place, so they can't terminate immediately. But I think that's a goal for a number of them.
Interesting trends, right?
Yeah.
Those are the things that you start to see, and we don't know, especially in the world that we live in, that we're, with our capitalistic way, we will find a way through this, right? I mean, the survivor will come through, and I think it's really cool that Truth at Work is part of that survival.
And the
is
solutions.
how are we going to get people through this?
Right.
Yeah.
We oftentimes talk about all the barriers to faith. The government says you can't do this. Our corporate says we can't do this. Politically correctness says this. Yeah. And the idea that you guys have been able, in a very respectful and informative way, bring a way to have faith in the corporate world or the business world is really, really neat. And so I applaud what you guys do for that. How do you get a lot of kickback in the corporate world because, oh, wait, you're faith-based, we don't want you around, or are you more open-armed, accepted?
It's really interesting to touch on that for just a moment. One of our sister companies that we really partner heavily with nationwide is Corporate Chaplains of America. Wow. It's something that people aren't aware of, but what happens is, even right here in Cincinnati, there are paid chaplains inside Coca-Cola.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Corporate Chaplains of America are placing chaplains into those places of business because there are business owners and large ones who want that faith-based piece available to the employees who want it. Now, they don't force it on the employee, but they say, hey, if you want to do it. And so what I'm hearing with the companies that they're working with now, there's a very high compliance. People want that. These business owners, they see the huge value in that. Obviously, we're going to see those areas we get pushback, just with the culture that we're in now.
Right.
But that's a huge, huge piece.
But, just like we see in our work at Rock Solid Families is that sometimes faith gets pushed aside, and when desperation comes in and we're feeling overwhelmed and we're feeling despair, it's like, I don't care if it's faith-based or not. Exactly. I need help. And so that's where a lot of people start with Rock Solid Families.
They walk in and they know that we're faith-based, and they're like, well, I don't believe in God, but I need help.
Yeah. And so
like,
it's
well, let's just start where
hope
you are.
and help. And so I see Truth at Work being one of the other areas that can offer hope and help to our corporate world, to high-level capacity leaders who are really searching and feeling overwhelmed, isolated, and really needing faith-based help and support. So Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Mark, I appreciate it. I've been really enjoyed getting to know you. I also love the ministry that you're doing. I also think there's probably a place for you and I in there, because sometimes we feel like we're on an island running our own kind of little ministry, and we don't get to network out. And I love the idea that you said, talk to people outside of your industry, because we have people all the time. Well, have you tried this? Well, that's not how our brain operates.
Well, one of the things, too, that's sometimes foreign to us, we need to stop sometimes and work on our business and what we're doing instead of just in it. Sometimes that's a foggy point. That's a strange place to be sometimes, because we somehow feel like we're working on it when we're just simply working in it.
Yeah.
Good.
Need to stop and take that time to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we always have a challenge in all of our shows, and part of, I think, our challenge with this today would just be, where are you out there, you listeners? Where are you at in your workplace? How's it going? You know, is work something that you dread and it owns you and it's like an anchor around your neck? Or is it a place where you're digging in, you're enjoying it, you're bringing life to it, you're bringing Christ to it? So a part of the challenge that I would have for you guys out there is examining what you do every day. You said, Mark, where we spend the majority of the hours of our day, and where is your faith in that? And inviting God in, prayerfully considering what you do for a living, and invite God in on that. So that would be part of our challenge.
Yeah.
I would say, work is worship. As we know in the Scripture itself, God created work before the fall. And so we're created to build and create and be a part of that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, you're right, sometimes people look at it the other way. It's a drudgery. It's not a good thing.
No.
But work is a good thing. God gave it to us to help us create and build.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be a light in the darkness, a city, it doesn't get put under a bowl. It's supposed to be shining brightly for all to see, and that's what we need to do. Not saying you beat people over the head with the Bible, but that you live it in a way that people want what you have.
Exactly.
And that's what I see. Truth at work, you guys are that light walking into that corporate world and showing people. So sometimes, I think sometimes the faith issue gets pushed away because it's all about rights and wrongs, do's and don'ts. But when you bring in light and energy and love and compassion and hope, and you bring those in, people go, oh, I want some of that faith stuff. So really good
Any
stuff.
final words as we wrap up, Mark? Anything that you want to leave us with? Make sure that we didn't cover?
Well, one thing I would say, right now we're here a lot of, we're at this point. I don't know that we can recover with our country. The things that are happening, this is negative, this is going this direction, and I don't see it recovering. I think we need to work at recovering it. We've got to be positive about it. The old story that we heard about the shoe salesman that went to the third world country, and he gets off the plane and he says, "Hey, get me another plane home. Nobody here wears shoes." Well, then the next salesman comes over and he says, "Well, wait a minute." He lands in the third world country. He picks up the phone. He said, "Hey, send me every shoe you have. Nobody here wears shoes." And so we're looking at this thing now kind of in that way. I mean, look at the people that we're seeing that are drifting away, that are falling away. Maybe we talk about them falling away from the faith, or even the new ones coming out of college that have had this separation from church and family and Christ in this process. They're there. The fields
the
are
harvest
plentiful.
is ripe.
Yes.
The fields are plentiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
The workers are few, so we
Workers
need more
are few.
workers.
Workers
Yeah.
are few.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, hey, as we close out, we want to thank again today's sponsors. We want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Maxwell Construction for their support of Rock Solid Radio. We want to thank Mark from Truth at Work and what they're doing. We're so thankful for them. So please check it out at truthatwork.org, right? And so connect in your area. Even if you're not in the greater Cincinnati area, there's a place for you. There is hope and help out there.
Yes. So thanks again for listening to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.